Hey friends, and welcome to Gardening with Creekside. Today we're hanging out in the Signature Garden, the garden center. I am going to be planting some hydrangeas. That's right, I am planting hydrangeas in January. I live in North Carolina. I get to do that. It's fantastic. Also, we're going to plant 5 Cedar Rapids for some privacy between the nursery and our house along the creek bank. So I'm gonna have Jackson come help me with that, and then give you an update on the barn expansion because my fellas are working back there. They got the first beam up that ties in the new expansion to the existing barn. So we'll check in on them to see how they are doing, and hopefully they don't kill each other, because there you go, if you're a mama with a husband and a almost 16-year-old son. Enough said. All right, so what we're going to do, we are going to talk about gardens and planting and hydrangeas. Yes, my friend, I'm going to be adding hydrangeas to the Signature Garden. We actually had to pull out some shrubs that were not doing especially well here. I was testing them out. It was the Proudberry Coralberry. It was a test because it is hardy zones 7, and of course we're in 8A. And while they survived, they didn't thrive. And this is a display garden, and I want plants to thrive and be gorgeous so that they can inspire you sweet people. So we pulled them out, and we are going to put in some Tuff Stuff Top Fun hydrangeas, because I have no doubt that they are going to do great here. So let me show you the bed that they're going to go in and why I chose these hydrangeas for this particular spot. To give you a frame of reference, we are in the back left quadrant of the Signature Garden. This is the bed that has the yin and yang viburnum. It has the summerific lilac crush in here. We have the double play, let's see, these are candy corns right here on the end, and then we have the jazz hands variegated loropetalum along with other things, but that kind of gives you an idea. Now, this flower bed in the summer, because I am concerned about summer sun in North Carolina. So I'm not thinking about winter sun, I think about summer sun. This bed gets the first morning light because it is in this back corner. It gets the first morning light, but it also then goes into the shade first because it is here along the edge of the, I won't even call it woods, but the trees, and the viewpoint that you see right now, the sun sets there. So of course all these hardwood trees, when they are leafed out in the summer, provide beautiful glorious shade, and it hits this flower bed first. So Tuff Stuff Top Fun is a reblooming mountain hydrangea. We're going to be planting 2 today. Now obviously it is January and they have gone dormant, so they have lost all of their leaves. But Tuff Stuff Top Fun, like I said, is that reblooming mountain hydrangea, a serrata. It will be a lace cap. The colors will be pH dependent, so either a vibrant pink or a really beautiful rich purple / blue. It all depends on the soil's pH level. They're going to be 2 to 3 feet tall and wide. Because they are a serrata and they rebloom, we don't want to prune them. So I have spaced them. They are actually 3 feet from the edge of the grass, which is more than enough room, because if they get 3 feet wide, half of that is 1.5 feet, and I've come out 3 feet. So I have plenty of room for them to get nice and big and not come over onto the grass. I spaced them 3 feet apart. That way they will kiss one another and kind of form, like they will, like a one, not massive one, but kind of sort of like a massive hydrangea. And then I've got plenty of room for my summerific lilac crush, which is centered between these 2 back there in the back. Of course, lilac crush gets nice and tall. It will get pretty wide. So when the hydrangeas are at maturity, and lilac crush is in all of her glory, they too shall probably kiss one another. Now I do have room to come in and add some perennials, which we will be doing this spring, and kind of freshen some things up a little bit. But this Tuff Stuff Top Fun is such a fantastic hydrangea. So if you have areas that are problematic, they are a little tough, then I really want you to check out these serratas. I tell this story all the time. Mama has, along her driveway, it gets too much sun for a macrophylla hydrangea, they burn. It doesn't get enough sun for her panicles. They weren't blooming very well. So she put in Tuff Stuff, just the OG, the original Tuff Stuff, and they are stunning. Absolutely gorgeous. No irrigation. This does have irrigation. So your Tuff Stuffs like to have some consistent water is always helpful, but they do not like to have wet, soggy feet. They will not have wet, soggy feet here. And so they will just absolutely perform really, really well. Side note, for my folks who are cold, then the Tuff Stuffs tend to do really well in those colder zones. I know up to a 5, I'll have to check my tag here in just a second, up to a 5 because they originate, like they are native to the mountainous regions of Japan. So they do really well in those colder climates, but yet they have the great breeding and those great characteristics that they also perform really, really well in the heat and humidity of the South. Another fun side effect of Tuff Stuff Top Fun is that they're going to have a beautiful fall color. So we're going to get gorgeous foliage color on these babies, plus the blooms. What else can you ask for? So what we're going to do is I have got my biotone. I have got Jenny's 9-inch auger. So I am going to drill these holes. It'll be super easy because obviously these are prepared beds. So it's not going to be a ton of native soil. When we get over to the creek bank, I am going to be one smart woman, and because the machinery is right here, I'm going to get Jackson to drill the holes for me using the Bobcat and the big auger. Yes, I am. We're working smarter, not harder today, my friends. And so what I'm going to do is just drill the hole. I will look at my roots. If they're, I wouldn't say they're root bound, but if they're really tight, I will loosen them up. I will put my biotone in the hole. Now people ask, they're like, do you use biotone in the winter? Absolutely. Biotone is that great starter fertilizer. It is for your root growth. It is not for the top growth. The top growth comes and happens when it's appropriate because you have strong roots. But we're doing biotone starter fertilizer because it gives all of the great beneficial mycorrhiza fungi. So that mycorrhiza fungi will open up and allow those roots to absorb all of the water and the nutrients and the food that the plants need to get gorgeous root system. So do that. I will plant them a little high because they don't like super wet, soggy soil. It's not going to be, but I need them to drain, and my winters tend to be wet. Plus we still have to mulch this flower bed. So I'm going to leave the root system sticking up about 1 inch. That way that it sheds, the water sheds plenty, and it will not the water won't hang out around the crown of the plant. If you have wet winters, if you have clay soil or soil that really holds on to moisture, plant your shrubs a little high. You don't want to plant them too deep because that's a great way to drown them. So we're going to get these in the ground, then we'll go over and do the Cedar Rapids, then we'll check on the boys. All right, so pretty easy peasy. Got those 2 Tuff Stuff Top Funs in the garden. This soil may not be compact red clay, but it definitely had some rocks. So the heavy duty tip came in to play and helped me get through and get beautiful holes in. They look fantastic, right? So that's the great thing about planting hydrangeas in the fall, winter. Again, North Carolina, zone 8A, my ground never freezes. And so I can plant basically year round. Now maybe there's a time at the end of January, beginning of February. Obviously those are kind of like the coldest parts of the year for us. that maybe I'm like, well, you know, it's not really enjoyable for me or the plant to be out in the garden. But we do plant this time of year because the root growth that's going to happen before the heat and humidity of the summer hits is going to be massive. And I have to think about the heat and humidity. Now, if you're in Michigan or New York or Maine or Idaho or Illinois, then obviously you're probably not planting shrubs in January, right? Because you're either covered in snow or your ground is frozen. So you have to think about winter and like making sure that the plant gets established before winter hits. For us, it's completely flip-flopped. And so there you go. Now, what we will do now is mulch the bed, because we've already mulched the 4 interior beds for the annuals and the fountain. So what we'll do is take the Daddy Peat that we used here and we will apply it to here. Now, we will be adding in some new perennials this coming spring. Very excited about the perennials that we're going to add. And because this is, like I said, a display garden, and this was going into year 3, the 3rd summer, I believe it is, or is it the 4th summer? It might be the 4th summer. You know, time just gets away from me. And so the shrubs and the perennials are taking off. Some of the shrubs, and just like any kind of plant, right? Some are happier than others, and some are like, yeah, not so much. So as things grow, as things die, as things need to be moved, such as it is for the garden. And so we'll take care of that this spring with those perennials. So we're good to go to mulch this bed. Now, let's head over, let's go get those Cedar Rapids in the ground. So while we're adding the hydrangeas to beautifully manicured, luscious, glorious soil in the signature garden, we're gonna be adding the 5 Cedar Rapids to a completely unprepared, completely natural area right here along the creek bank. So to give you an idea, those of you that have been to the nursery or kind of pay attention when we do the nursery tours, we are just beyond the porta potty. That is right, my friends, the blue porta potty. But earlier this year, Jackson had come through, well, I should say last year, my brain is still thinking 2025. He had come through and planted a row of the American pillars. We had some left over, so let's go ahead and put them in, because especially this time of year, you can see straight from the nursery to our house. And while I love and adore you, and I love this nursery, sometimes I just need a little privacy from my house to the business. You understand? I think you do. So the American pillars, their story is they're gonna be tall and skinny. They like sit for a year, 2 years, maybe 3 years, they just sit. All the action's happening under the ground. Then once they decide, oh, we like it here, then they just take off, and they're super fast growers. But think tall and skinny on these guys. Now, Cedar Rapids is going to be the opposite. Cedar Rapids is going to have that natural pyramidal shape. So they're going to be 12 to 15 feet wide at the bottom, up to like 20 to 30 feet tall. So think of, if you're familiar with the green giant, Fuji green giant, similar in habit to that. And so I have got 5 of them. Now, I put them pretty close to each other because I want to have the good privacy screen. All right, here comes Jackson. I'm gonna help him drill the holes. I'll meet you back here in just a second. We'll talk some more. I got so excited about planting, I forgot I was supposed to stop and talk to you. So just to show you how vastly different the soil can be on, you know, one piece of property, I want you to look at this soil. So if you're familiar with my native soil, it is red clay. Y'all, that's about as opposite of red clay as you possibly can get. And you know why it is this absolutely luscious Garden of Eden soil? You know why? It's because it is literally right here at the creek. So the creek is right there. You can see the water. So whenever we get those big rains and we get the flooding and the water that comes flowing down from the hill, all of that beautiful topsoil, the compost, the rich, lovely stuff that we want comes and it settles right here. So this is just years and years worth of topsoil that has been deposited. Of course, all the leaves, the pine needles, all of that has been decomposing right here is absolutely gorgeous. It's definitely, I wouldn't say it's sandy, but it is not compact clay soil at all. And so, yeah, so with these guys, putting them in, I am not worried about watering them because we're supposed to get rain in just a few days, and like in 24 hours, that's when it's supposed to rain. And of course, obviously the plants are nice and moist, the soil is moist. And one thing you might want to think about when you're planting those plants, you may have noticed that I was taking the roots and I had my hand and I was zhuzhing all around the root ball, not trying to like crazy break it up. It was not root bound whatsoever. But with these being trees, right, they're going to be in the kind of tough conditions as far as they're going to be competing against other trees for nutrients and water. They're not going to be on irrigation. These are not going to be babied whatsoever. Ever at all. It is not, there's no water close by other than the creek right there. And so I want those roots to go out. I want them to go search for water and food and nutrition so that we get beautiful top growth. So I want to make sure that I am just kind of zhuzhing up the roots so that they're loose and that they're not circling around one another, that they're more loose and free and then go out. So that's just something, sometimes if it's like crazy root bound and like what I was doing with the hydrangeas, I took my hori and I just was breaking up the roots, kind of aerating them so that they would naturally be broken and then they would go out. With the Cedar Rapids, the roots are seem like a lot longer, and it was easier to kind of zhuzh them up and get them to fluff out. I know those are all very technical horticultural terms, but hopefully those are terms that you understand and then can implement into your garden. All right, so I got 3 more. We're gonna get them in the ground. All right, all 5 Cedar Rapids, they are in the ground. Man, if I could have this kind of soil throughout my entire property, oh, it'd be heavenly. But you know what? Would it be as much fun? Probably would, but I digress. You know, we all have our challenges. Some of us get this beautiful native soil, but then you have like crazy winds or crazy cold or fires or earthquakes or whatever. You know, I live basically in a really darn good part of the world. We don't have, well, occasionally we'll have the outskirts of a hurricane, but we don't have earthquakes, we don't have tornadoes, we don't have wildfires, we don't have blizzards, we don't have crazy high wind all the time. So, you know, I deal with red clay soil. That's the trade-off. It's fine. But these 5 are in the ground. Now, you may be looking at some of these and you're like, they're kind of leaning or they're tilted. Cedar Rapids, when they're young, they have a very kind of loose, whimsical habit to them, and they have kind of that soft, kind of flowing like foliage to it. They will straighten up as they grow. These are only 3 gallons. So they're a little whimsical, shall we say. The one on the very end is the saddest. We were having some water issues where they were hanging out and they were not getting as much sun as they need. So speaking of sun in here, Cedar Rapids is considered a full sun tree. In fact, I'm gonna go up here and grab my tag so that I can give you the all the specs on it as far as growing zones and all of that. So it is considered a full sun tree. Where they are, This is east back here. So the sun will come up and they will get good morning sun. Then it comes overhead. They will go into filtered light because of the pine trees. And then it sets right over here. So they'll get some hot afternoon sun. They should be perfectly fine. Now, will they grow as rapidly as if they were in full sun? Probably not, but they're hardy in zones 4 to 8, so very cold tolerant, and they are rated for sun to part sun. So they need a minimum of 4 hours. They're going to get that. Again, will they grow as fast as if they were in full sun or like, 6 hours of sun and then afternoon shade? Probably not. Am I worried about it? No, I'm not. It'll be just fine. But of course, being that evergreen, they're going to, let's see, they have medium deer resistance. Of course, you can do it just like I was doing it, using it as a hedge, a border. I also have a Cedar Rapids in a really large aqua pot at the house, and y'all, it is glorious. It's about to outgrow the aqua pot, so I'm gonna have to add it somewhere, and I'm thinking the perfect spot is, let me see if I can get the camera right. Where is it? Yeah, so that little hole right there where those 3 trees are, right there in the center would be perfect for the big one. But then again, we may add it somewhere else. I don't know. So Cedar Rapids, great, fun, interest, easy. That false cypress, yep. It's gonna be great. All right, let's go check on Jerry and the boys. I think he's getting ready to wrap up for the day, so let's go see the progress that he's made so far. All righty, my friends, look at that. We have got some beams. So now you can see really like how it starts to bring it all together, right? So bringing the depth to it, and it literally doubles the size, the length of the barn, because you've got basically 2 panels / holes right here that are the same as those 2 that on the existing barn. So we are doubling the length of the barn. We're gonna have the exact same roof line. So we will have, as far as on this side, so you're gonna have the peak and then the slant coming over the side shed, but we're not going to have this section on the back side. So because you can probably figure out why, because we're running out of room, right? So this back corner already is pretty nooked in to where the garden is. So you can imagine that if we took this side of the barn, like this wing right here, and brought it to even with this board right there, then you come across and we lose the corner of the garden, plus we run into water issues because this dry creek bed is there for a reason. There's a French drain that goes underneath there. It catches all the water. When it pours, it roars. The water flows through there big time, and so it just made sense. We could have done it if we wanted to do it. We just didn't want to do it. We just didn't want to have to battle it. So this is going to be more than enough space right here. So like Jerry was saying, we'll have to have another beam. Probably we'll have to have another one beam between these 2 and then up one, just as a support. But there you go. So making good progress. And we were talking about, I think in one of the earlier videos, that we still haven't decided what to do with the existing loft. Right now, we just hate to give up that storage space. So we're kind of thinking that we're gonna leave that loft there. Obviously, all these boards here can come down. They're not structural. They were just there for the wall that was there. But then all of this open area, the new expansion, there will not be a loft, and it will just go straight up. So that makes sense to have the openness of this area, but keep the loft of the existing barn. And then maybe we could do a stairwell off to the side back over here, maybe somewhere, and we could come in. I don't know, it's just, thinking thoughts. That space up there will be for storage or employees. It will not be open for customers. I know a lot of folks were concerned about spiral staircase and ease of customers and all this other stuff. It's not for y'all. It's for us. So there you go. Another great afternoon here at the nursery. And today is actually a Saturday. So this is the first Saturday that we have been closed, and so that we can come and we can do some work and not have to be, you know, focused on taking care of customers, but we can get some projects done. So even though the garden center may be closed, it's not like we're not, you know, just sitting around eating ice cream, doing nothing. Although sometimes that sounds really good. But we got the Tuff Stuffs in, we got the Cedar Rapids in, and then Jerry got the beams in for the barn. So another great day here at Creekside. As always, we appreciate you. We hope that you have found this fun, informative, inspirational. We would love it if you would like and subscribe. That way you don't miss those 5 videos that we do each and every week. Y'all have a fantastic day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.